Wow, it really doesn't fit.
Okay, so here we are in Fusion 360, and we're going to try and figure out how or why this happened. So first thing I want to do is I want to take a measurement of the oval cutout uh, within the software just to see what the dimension should be and see if it matches what I've got. So I'm going to turn on the visibility of this sketch because in the sketch I drew lines across the apexes, and I'll be able to measure these lines with the inspect tool over here. So my little pop-ups out of the way. If I click here and here, that should tell me the measurement, 5.469, and that is exactly what I measured with my calipers, which are 6-inch calipers, so they were kind of at their limit, but that is what I measured. So 5.469 inches on the cutout. I'm glad that that matches. Next, we'll check I want to check the dimension of the inlay piece that was cut out of this piece of stock. So once again, turn on the sketch for that, which I think should be this one. Probably not. Okay. And we'll measure this. And I think on this one I measured 5.51 inches. So it's obviously larger. So this is the cutout. Should have been 6 inches minus twice the diameter of the cutting tool, which was a 1/4 inch. So minus a 1/2 inch. So I have 5.51. It probably should have been 5.50, but in any case, the results that I got match what I asked for, even though what I asked for wasn't what I really wanted. So what we need to do is we need to cut out another 41 thousandths as at a minimum of our walnut base. We need to make this cut 41 thousandths larger in this dimension here, from here to here. And if I do that, and if I increase the oval by that amount, I assume that that'll compensate for the entire oval. Now, what I've done, I've also looked for, turn that off. I've looked for tools within Fusion 360 to see if there was a way of doing this more cleanly, is what I want to say. But I've always been taught, and a lot of folks have always shown their methods of sneaking up on a fit. So that doesn't really work with this because there's no implementation of that method within the software. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to increase the size of the oval and then let it do the cutout again, and it'll probably try and cut a lot more than what we need, but that material that would be more than what we need is already gone because I've already run the router through this and cleaned out the whole pocket. So more than likely we can just let it make its perimeter cut or cuts if we do 2 or 3 depths. Probably do 3 depths like I did before, and once that's finished, I can just pause or cancel the machine cutting and test the fit and see how we did. And I don't know, I've never done this before, but we need to go back into the design. We're in manufacture right now. If we go back into the design, and here's the sketch of the oval. if we edit that sketch, that should follow through and edit the extrude function. It should, I don't know, I've not done it before, so I guess we're going to try it and see what happens. I'm going to edit the sketch. And you can see where this is 5.469. It's not going to edit this dimension. So it's not editing the oval, it's editing one dimension of the oval. And I needed to scale up. And maybe I should do 22 or 23 thousandths to give me a little bit of room. So I guess that's what I'll do. Okay, so we're going to create an offset from here. And we're going to go, let's do 23. We'll go ahead and save it. Now we'll finish the sketch. Let's show that sketch. And what we're gonna, I guess what we need to do now is we're gonna need to extrude that extra little sliver down into our stock. So we have to pick, so we hit the E key, that's extrude. Actually, I can't see, I mean, zoom way in. Okay. So we need to extrude a face, which would be this little 23,000 sliver. And we're going to cut 30 thousandths. I guess it's negative 30 thousandths. Let's see if that does it. Doesn't appear to have done it. Still see that. Huh. I'm going to undo that extrude. I don't see where it accomplished what we were looking to do. Okay. Let's try zooming in even further. Now I should be able to select this little face right in here. It's not. Huh. Doesn't seem to want to let me do it though, does it? Try zooming in even further. Okay. Wow, we're so close now, you can't even move it off the page. So now Now I can select the face. So I want to extrude. I don't want that selected. I want this face selected. -30. And it's got a cut. Okay. And I do believe that worked that time. All right, let's go back. Take a look at this. I do believe it worked. So what we need to do then is to save it. I just use the version number that it displays as my save point. I don't know if that matters or not. Go back to manufacturer. And 2D pocket, it might pick up the change automatically. I don't know if it does or not. Let's have it. I don't know what I just clicked. Yeah, I didn't want to do that. Let's have it generate. Actually, I guess what we can do is we can edit this path and just make sure that the geometry selected was the pocket. So let's delete that. And because this new pocket will probably be a little bit larger. Okay. Number of passes. And what we're going to do is edit the geometry. So instead of having a pocket, delete that. And we'll do a chain. And then we will go back and do preserve order. All right, now we'll simulate again. Actually, let's go to top view first. Simulate. And now it looks like it's on the outside. Still going back to the inside though. But if we did a full depth cut, it would only be one pass on the outside, and then we could cancel the. So here is our G-code sender, open builds controller, and we will. First thing we'll do is jog back where we can actually tell it to go to the work coordinates 0. And then our Z normally starts at 10 millimeters, not 20, so we'll come back down to 10. And what we need to do is open our file. our G-code file, which is this one, black base. All right, and you can see the oval. So that's looking like what we want. The other thing I like to do is just look at a little bit of the G-code. This right here being something important to me, Z minimum is negative 0.3 inches, which is the depth of my pocket. So now I know that it's not going to go deeper than negative 0.3. We've already done the check size feature, which is up here, and that looked good to us. So in my opinion, everything on here looks really good, and we should be ready to press play or run job. We should be ready to press run job and begin. All I have to do is power up the 240 volt for the spindle, and then we can press run.
Okay, so we've got our new file loaded, and what I want to do is run that check size feature again on this. And for those of you who don't know, in the OpenBuild's G-code sender controller software, that feature does kind of something similar to what the laser engraver framing feature is. But what it does is it doesn't frame the entire piece. It frames, well, and I guess in the laser it doesn't either. It frames the cut, but it frames it from the origin where you set your probing on the CNC machine. So it frames from that origin around the extent of the cut. And so what I want to do is make sure that the extent of the cut doesn't look much bigger than it already is, because we only added 23 thousandths additional size to the oval, at least in the smaller dimension of the oval's apex. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that framing, and I can bring you in a little bit closer so that you can see that it's going to be very close to what we already have. And I'll just get this dust boot off so we can take a look at that. Maybe I'll get it off. There we go. Let me go back to okay. Let's come in close. Get this hose up out of the way. Bring you all down. So you can see the cut. And hopefully this comes across on camera correctly. So we are going to do the check size. And you'll see it moves over. And what I want to make sure is it doesn't go much beyond where this is, and it didn't. And the same thing back here, as it passes across here, looks good to me. So that's the check size feature. It's handy just for weird instances like this where I am thinking old school woodworking and didn't make sure that this pocket was just a tiny bit larger than our inlay, which has to go into the pocket. So in any case, let me get everything put back together and we'll make the cut. Okay, we're going to go kind of deep on this operation because most of the material is already gone, and I'm trying to minimize the time that this job takes. It's still going to take about 6 to 8 minutes according to the software. And lastly, I changed the depth of cut to 0.15 inches, so 0.3 is our total depth. Should only be 2 depth passes, but it's going to make 2 other passes to make the width of this cut, which was originally 0.3 inches wide. The bit's only 0.25, so it's got to make a step over to get that extra. So it still thinks it's doing that even though there's no material there to cut. So I'm going to turn on the dust collector. It's going to get loud, and we'll start the machine up. Once again, with my hand on the e-stop button here, just in case, we're going to watch closely. Turn off the fan and we'll see if our piece fits. So here's our piece. You can see it still has remnants of the tabs on it, but those will come off when I do the chamfer. So I'm not even going to bother taking them off yet. Doesn't appear to fit, does it? Back to the drawing board on this one. Okay, so what happened? This now fits. As you can see, it's even a little bit loose, which is okay. But what happened was, when I enlarged the size of the oval design, and I did the extrude into the 3rd dimension, I extruded it 30 thousandths of an inch down. But I'm 0.3. That's 300 thousandths. So that was the problem. I had to go 270 thousandths further with that extrude. Once I did that, reran the cut, everything's great. So it just really pays to be close. It pays to be paying super close attention, obviously. You know, not all of us are used to working with thousandths of an inch all the time, or even tenths of an inch, because we work with rulers that are in halves and quarters and eighths and sixteenths and so forth. So pay close attention, get it right the first time, avoid frustration.